Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP. Greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us till the end. Honorable Knowledge Seeker, today I am your host for the evening. My name is Badhun Das. I am from Bangladesh. Dear Knowledge Seeker, I am proud to be associated with IGP. IGP is a social and certified international educational and training institute. In last years, we already served 35 million plus knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 450 plus profession and 4,500 plus organization. Institute of Global Professional is an educational institute that provides social work globally recognized and reportable. We serve student and community resource providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective training is one skill just backward in formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate proficient generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, nationally, internationally to students, job seeker, job holder, and also for learner the respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable institute. IGP is one of the famous online institutes from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human rights. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminar, courses, award, quiz competition, mentoring, and counseling, etc. On the other side, we are also trying to offer more than 100 premium services for free, like create own portfolio website, resume builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and wellness platform for gathering general knowledge which can update all day. Kids learning game website, free course, conversations, and many more. We help to empower you to learn to meet their expectation and dream and become highly skilled people. We implement several training program, webinar, and offline online courses for youth to learn by professional trainers, speaker, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop all kind of youth and promote the education of their abilities and personalities. Spreading knowledge is crucial for the state of global professional. We believe that knowledge is level, light, and vision. So we try to understand the needs of today's generation and we start them with good research and practice method. We must have a genuine concept for the learner we present. More diversity, growth, and innovation are required to lead a session with professionalism, passion, and integrity. RGP member are committed to offering effective best quality service and continual improvement so that individuals who seek information can improve their skill level and value. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. The support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Before we move to the next, let me remind don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. The support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Moving to the next with your continuous support. We already completed 2080 webinars successfully. Moving to the next with your continuous support. We already completed 2080 webinars successfully. Dear RGP speaker, participant, and well wisher, at this moment, this is a very important message for you all. We change and design our website www.edurgp.com. On this website, we have surprise for everyone. Hope you will be benefited. We already launched our new website where you can find all our previous activities together with lots of new features. But one strong point is that without an account or login, you cannot enjoy our services. So create your account from us with profile information. Note that with profile information, you'll enjoy our feature. With mismatch data, you cannot do anything here. From now on, you can participate in 1,000 plus international level quiz with verified certificate. Teaching tips for teacher, health tips for parents, health tips for teens, gamification tools for teachers. And join IGP alumni. You can check out our previous services website for free and many more. Dear IGP well-wisher, we promised previously by lack of technical problem, we are late sending you on time. It's a great opportunity to calculate previous condition. It's solved all issue from our website. Now you can enroll, reset password, everything. You check your dashboard for all webinar details. It's a cordial request to check all button and pages on our website. You like and still be benefited. Thank you, but note that without an account or logged in, you cannot enjoy our service. At present, we are going to start our 2081 webinar, which name is The Power of Formative Assessment. And today our speaker name is Dr. Rusilaji Anisito. She is from Philippines. Before I hand over the stage to our speaker, I'll share a little bit about her. Structure University of Baguia. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation.
All
Hello,
right,
madam.
so hello, good evening. How's
Good evening.
everyone? Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so once again, a pleasant evening to everyone. I am Dr. Rizal Jenisato from the University of Baguio, Philippines. So it is truly an honor to have this talk with you, my fellow educators around the globe. I would also like to express my immense gratitude to the Institute of Global Professionals, or IGP, for providing this meaningful learning opportunity. So, allow me to start. Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, so first I would like to congratulate everyone. Congratulations, okay, for the diligent efforts each of us dedicate to our classroom every day, just to ensure that we provide all the needs of our students. So with this, it give us the reason, okay, why we're all convening here, we're all gathering here, for we believe that teaching is a journey of continuous learning, and formative assessment practices are no exemption at all. So your willingness to embrace new ideas and adapt your strategies to demonstrate, I mean for demonstration, it leads to what growth mindset. So let's continue learning and evolving together. So the topic formative assessment or assessment for learning is not new to us. However, it is essential to refresh our understanding periodically on how to effectively harness the power of formative assessment. At times, we may overlook its importance as we become overwhelmed with the content of our lessons when we discuss our lessons and just focus on summative assessment without realizing it. We may miss the fact that students might not be fully prepared or equipped to undertake summative assessments, indicating a lack of complete comprehension of the lesson. Consequently, students may merely fulfill the summative assessment just for compliance. And as a result, true learning is not adequately reflected or not successfully achieved. Without further ado, allow me to start my discussion on harnessing the power of formative assessment with this analogy given by Paul Black, an assessment expert. It says here, when the cook tastes the soup, that's formative assessment. When the customer tastes the soup, that's summative assessment. So this analogy draws a parallel between the process of preparing soup and the concepts of formative and summative assessment. So in the analogy, the cook tasting the soup represents formative assessment. So formative assessment here is an ongoing or in-process evaluation that occurs during the learning or teaching process. So it is similar or akin to the cook checking the taste of the soup as it is being prepared. So the purpose here is to gather feedback, identify areas for improvement, and make necessary adjustments in real time. So again, formative assessment help us or guides the learning process and ensures that students are on the right track. On the other hand, the customer tasting the soup symbolizes summative assessment. So we say summative assessment, it occurs or it happens at the end of the learning period, and it is designed to evaluate the overall learning outcome. So it is comparable, or we can compare it to the customer giving feedback after the meal is complete. So summative assessment here aims to measure the overall understanding and the mastery of the students on the subject matter, often through exams, projects, or final assessment. So, in essence, the analogy simplifies a distinction between formative and summative assessment using this particular scenario, cooking and tasting the soup. So, it explains how one is continuous, okay, or ongoing process for improvement, formative, while the other one is final judgment of the overall outcome, which is summative. So, here, let's review these two types of assessment in terms of their purpose, nature, and feedback. So, in terms of purpose, the main purpose of formative assessment, of course, we all know that, is to provide continuous input during learning, while summative assessment, it aims to assess the overall progress after a set time or at the end of a period, at the end of a unit, or at the end of a course. In terms of nature, formative assessment guides future learning. Okay, while summative assessment, it provides a summary of what was learned. And regarding feedback, so summative assessment, it helps students understand their strengths and areas for improvement, while summative assessment, it is intended to give a grade or assess the overall performance of the student. So both formative and summative assessments, they play crucial roles. They're both valuable in the education process. So a balanced approach is recommended to be able for us to cater to the diverse needs of our learners. So it is essential to use formative assessments to guide teaching and of course the learning processes of our students. While summative assessments we provide, it's actually what a culmination of what has been learned and achieved by our students at the end of the course or at the end of the unit. So here we're going to zero in on the key powers of formative assessment, having said all of those things. All right, so here let's have real-time feedback. So real-time feedback through formative assessment helps students and teachers quickly know how well the students are actually doing in class or in the classroom. So here students can find and fix misunderstandings and teachers can adapt their teaching methods right away based on this timely information. Let's think of a formative assessment like a GPS for teachers. So, as they guide students through the learning journey, formative assessment act as checkpoints that provide instant feedback on whether the class is on the right path or needs to make a detour. So teachers, much like GPS systems, can can then make real-time adjustments to their teaching strategies to ensure students reach their destination of understanding successfully. An example of a formative assessment here are the clickers or the classroom response systems that allow teachers to pose questions to the entire class and students respond using handheld devices. So probably some of you are already doing this. So the teacher can instantly see the collective understanding of the class and address misconceptions immediately. Another one is the targeted instruction. Teachers use formative assessments to adjust their teaching based on what each student needs. So this helps fill in any learning gaps and makes sure students get the support they require to succeed. And that will come from us teachers. So here consider formative assessment as a teacher's toolkit filled with different tools. So just as a carpenter selects the right tool for a specific task, all right, teachers use formative assessment to pick the most suitable approach for each student. So it's like adjusting the tools to build a sturdy piece of furniture. So here teachers customize their methods to construct a solid foundation of understanding for every student. An example of that, observations. Observing students as they work on a group activity or having a problem solving task. Okay, this can help teachers identify common challenges. So here the teacher can then provide additional support to their students or provide clarification to address specific issues or specific concerns. Next, we have here student engagement. By regularly checking how well students understand using formative assessment, teachers keep them involved in learning. So this feedback loop encourages students to participate actively, maintaining their interest and motivation. So think of formative assessment like a gardening check on plant growth. Or of course, we know what a gardener does. A teacher is like a gardener, regularly assessing or assesses how well the students are grasping the lessons. Just as a gardener adjusts watering and care based on the plant's progress, teachers as well use formative assessments to tailor their teaching, ensuring each student flourishes in the learning environment. And this is what we want as teachers. We want our students flourish in the given or in the provided environment for them or in the classroom itself. An example of that is think pair share activity. So this activity enables the students to work with a partner. All right. So they think about first they think about what the question is all about based on the post question, and then they're going to discuss their thoughts with a partner and then share their ideas with the whole class. So this particular activity promotes active engagement and encourages the students to articulate their understanding. Next, we have as well adjustments of teaching strategies. So here teachers change how they teach by looking at formative assessment results. So based on the result, if students find a concept hard, teachers adjust by using different methods, offering more examples or providing more explanations. They explain things differently so that they could help their students understand the topic or the lesson better. So here I want you to think of formative assessment like coaching, okay, like a coach adjusting strategies during a game. So if a certain play isn't working well for the team, the coach might change tactics, introduce new drills, or offer different instructions. Similarly, teachers, like coaches, they use formative assessments to modify their teaching methods based on how well students are understanding the material. This is to ensure everyone is on the path to success. So remember, as teachers, we play different roles, and one of those roles is to coach our students. Okay? An example of that is a brief lecture. So after giving a brief lecture on instructional segment or providing a certain discussion on a certain topic, we provide exit tickets. Okay, so after a brief lecture, we provide exit tickets right away to our students, just for them to write down the most confusing point or a certain errors in the particular topic, or certain questions that they still have in their minds. Okay, when you were probably discussing, there are certain things that they were not able to understand. So here teachers can then adjust their next lesson to be able to address those concerns of the students. So before you start your lesson, you may try to address those concerns first, based on the result of that particular activity, which is the exit tickets. Another one, identification of learning gaps. So formative assessment shows where students need more help. So teachers use formative assessments to be able to gather information, to be able to use this information to teach certain things again, or enable for the teachers adjust how fast they teach, or making sure every student understands the basics. So imagine you are guiding a group of hikers through a trail. You periodically check if everyone is keeping up and adjusting the path. So if some hikers lag behind or seem unsure, you might slow down, clarify directions, or even revisit certain points, just to ensure everyone is what comprehensively grasping the trail, able to grasp the trail. So in teaching, formative assessment is like checking in on the students' progress. And just as you'd adjust your pace on the trail, teachers adjust their teaching based on where students need more support or clarification. Okay, I also provided an example for this. We could provide a quick quiz or short discussion at the beginning of a class. Okay, and this will help the teacher identify areas where students are struggling. So this information can guide the focus of the day's lesson or prompt. Okay, to review first. Okay, the previous material before go proceeding to the next topic. So this is really very important to check first if the students are able to understand, so that when you discuss the new lesson, every student or all the students are on the same page. So a quick quiz or short discussion at the beginning of a class could be very helpful. Another thing to take note is promotion of metacognition. Formative assessments help students think about how they learn by reflecting on what they know and what they don't know. So students become aware of what they're good at and where they need some improvements. So these awareness can make them more responsible for their own academic success. So this time they become more independent learners. So here I want you to think of formative assessment like a personal fitness tracker. Just as individuals monitor their daily activities, students also track, all right, their learning progress. So when reviewing the data, students recognize areas where they excel, that's their strengths, and areas that need attention. Okay, those are actually their weaknesses. So this self-awareness is similar or akin to someone using fitness data to understand their health. So it encourages the students to take responsibility for their learning journey. So much like someone taking charge of their fitness based on personal insight. So this is actually our main goal, okay, for us to be able to encourage our students to be very responsible with their own learning. So we provide everything to them, and we allow them to digest it, I mean, have their own way of understanding it as well, for them to become independent learners. Okay, so here another example, we could provide or we could allow them to do journaling or reflective writings. Okay, so this type of activities would encourage our students to think about their learning process. So they can write about what they found challenging, what strategies help them, and how they plan to approach similar tasks in the future. So they themselves would be thinking how they could help themselves to understand better, or to be able for them to overcome their this certain weaknesses that they have identified, okay, within themselves. Another thing, or it's also significant to know that formative assessment would actually what reduce test anxiety. So reduction of test anxiety. So formative assessment being less stressful than big tests, of course, it helps students feel less anxious about it. So this way they can concentrate on learning without worrying too much about their grades. So think of formative assessment like a practice run in a drama class. It's like rehearsing a scene before the final performance, or before the summative assessment. So during the practice, students can make mistakes, they could try different approaches, they could receive feedback, and from there they could work on the comments or recommendations without the pressure of final grade hanging over them. So this low stakes environment helps reduce anxiety, allowing students to focus on improving their skills and understanding the material, so much like actors refining their performance during rehearsal. So formative assessment is really very helpful for the students, getting rid of those anxiety in terms of tests, especially if it is a group activity. Example, we have your peer assessment or small group presentations. This activity provides students with opportunities to showcase, all right, their understanding in a less intimidating setting than a formal exam, because based on our observation, and we give them a graded quiz, or what do you call this one, a summative assessment, or they feel nervous, all right, because they think about grades. Okay, but in terms of formative assessment, it's less intimidating, less they're less anxious about it, okay, because um they just think about focus on learning itself, not on the grades. So this can help alleviate anxiety and build confidence among our students. Another thing we have here, continuous improvement. So formative assessments, if it, formative assessment, of course, being done regularly, it helps teachers and students get better over time. So by checking on how students are doing it often, teachers can improve their teaching methods, which would lead to a better learning result. So here I want you to think of a formative assessment like tuning a musical instrument. So when you regularly check the notes, okay, students understanding, you allow the musician or the teacher to make small adjustments. So as a result, the overall performance or the learning outcomes here improves over time, just as musician refines their playing by continuously tuning. So teachers refine their teaching through regular formative assessment, contributing to better learning outcomes. So remember, when we discuss a certain topic, students could not easily digest that topic. All right. So it would not be easy for them. It takes time for them to understand it. That's why we should be able to provide formative assessments to be able for them to understand better the topic. So we try to provide more examples, we try to provide mini activities for them so that they could comprehend well, they have good grasp of the lesson. An example of that is regular check ins, such as weekly reflection sessions, or it could be one on one conferences between teachers and students. So these allow for ongoing discussion about progress, challenges, and areas for improvement. So the power of formative assessment lies in its ability to provide timely feedback, promote student engagement, and drive continuous improvement in teaching and learning. So it empowers both educators and students to work collaboratively towards achieving academic success. But I would also like to talk about, or let's provide some clarifications. Now we know that these are the benefits or advantages of providing formative assessments to our students. Now, let's provide clarifications to some misconceptions about formative assessments among teachers and students. The first two here is that believing formative assessments are time consuming. Some teachers may perceive formative assessment as time consuming, thinking that the benefits do not justify the investment of time. Here we have to take note that while some formative assessment may take time to design, the immediate feedback gained often helps in more efficient and targeted teaching. So ultimately, saving time. Ultimately, we could save time in the long run. So we think that it's time consuming, but no, it's not. Okay, we actually want saving time in the long run. Why? Because we could already able to know already the areas that we need to work on for our students. Not because sometimes we figure out that these are the problem that we need to work on, or these are the certain things that the students need, and you're just able to know it at the end of the course, right, at the end of the quarter. So it's more what time consuming for us. If we could do it already in the middle, all right, during the learning process, then it would be very much we call this one helpful for us. So teachers need to take risk investing time with the belief that it will bring benefits in the future. So simply going through the content without ensuring good understanding is not really helpful, and it can be very harmful to our students if we just simply focus on the content and without thinking that the students understand the lesson. All right. This is something that that our principal always remind us, that the intervention, or the what do you call this one, when reaching out to the students, it should be done during and after, during the learning process, where we could do it before, during, and after, but it should be done during the learning process, not after. Because sometimes if it is already after it, they're done with the summative assessment, and then that's the only the time that you're going to provide certain remediations, additional activities for them to be able to understand the lesson. It's kind of like too late for our students. Second is viewing formative assessment as only quizzes or tests. So here teachers might think that formative assessments are limited to traditional quizzes or tests only, missing out on the variety of informal assessment methods available. So here formative assessment encompass a wide range of strategies, including discussions, we could have observations, we could have group activities, we could have quick pause, and so on. So they're not just simply confined to formal written assessment. So formative assessment um, could actually what vary depending on your goal. All right. So it's not just limited on written assessments. Another misconceptions we have here considering formative assessment separate from curriculum. Some teachers may perceive formative assessment as additional tasks rather than integrated components of the curriculum. Clarification: formative assessment should be seen as integral to the teaching process, seamlessly integrating or integrated into the lessons to enhance learning rather than a separate activity. It's part of our curriculum. Formative assessment is part of our curriculum. Number four, thinking formative assessment are only for struggling students. Okay, teachers might believe that formative assessments are primarily for identifying and helping struggling students, overlooking their value for all students. So please take note that formative assessment should be for all students. Okay, formative assessments benefit all students by providing ongoing feedback and promoting a deeper understanding of the material. So not just for those who are struggling, but for everyone. All right. So if teachers have some misconceptions, learners also have certain misconceptions about formative assessment. So first, students may underestimate the importance of formative assessment, just viewing them as less significant than summative assessment. So we have to explain to our students that formative assessment contribute to the learning process. It helps them identify areas for improvement and promote active engagement. It makes them what formative assessments very crucial for their overall academic success. Sometimes the problem is the giving of marks and the grading function are overemphasized, while the giving of useful advice and the learning function are underemphasized. So which is the most important one, because for the students they're into grades. Okay, they do not consider, okay, what we provide to them to be able for them to improve their learning, or for them to be able to understand the lesson better. Okay. Second, believing formative assessment only measure memorization. Students might think that formative assessment only measure their ability to memorize facts rather than understanding concepts. Probably we just provide very simple activity for them, just on the remembering level, or probably on their um understanding level. So well-designed formative assessment focus on understanding, critical thinking, and application of knowledge. Going beyond, we could go beyond simple recalling of information. So we could still target higher order thinking skills. We do not just simply target lower order thinking skills in here. This is the reason why students find it less significant, because the activities that we provide to them is less challenging. So not so much engaging for them. So just simply what recalling information. So let's make it more engaging for them. Let's make it more challenging for them to be able for them to appreciate these formative assessments. Okay, another thing, perceiving formative assessments as punitive. Students may fear that formative assessments are punitive, designed only to catch mistakes rather than support learning. So we have to elucidate this to our students that formative assessments are meant to be supportive or supporting tools for learning. So they offer valuable insights and help the students improve their understanding and performance, you know, um, not to emphasize their mistakes. Last one, not recognizing their role in the formative assessment process. Okay, we have to let our students know, or they have to understand, that their engagement, reflection, and responses during formative assessment really contribute to their own learning journey. And this is for them. So this formative assessment is for them. We always have to emphasize that. Okay, so how can we now improve having 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 what do you call this one, having said this, this particular misconceptions, or being able to refresh us with all of these things that sometimes we tend to disregard. This time, how can we improve formative assessment? So here we could improve it by focusing on the feedback. So feedback should be about the particular qualities of learner's work with advice on what he or she can do to improve and should avoid comparison with other learners. So providing feedback that is tailored to the unique qualities of a student's work and offers guidance for improvement is essential for creating a positive and effective learning environment that supports individual growth and development. Another thing, learners should be trained in self-assessment. That's why we always provide rubric, all right? That when every time we give a particular activity, we allow them to check their own output before they submit it, before they turn it in. So it is so this particular self-assessment would enable them to understand the main purpose of their learning and thereby grasp what they need to do to be able to achieve their the intended learning outcomes. It not only empowers students to actively engage in their learning process, but also what equips them to, I mean, with the skills needed to understand or with the skills needed to monitor or the skills needed to strive toward achieving their academic goals. Another thing to be able for us to improve our formative assessment, let's try to provide more opportunities for our learners to express their understanding. All right, so these learning opportunities, this learning tasks should be or what I call it, should be designed in a way that the students are able to develop their critical thinking. Example, we have dialogues. So the dialogues between learners and a teacher should be thoughtful, reflective, focused to evoke and explore understanding, and it should be conducted in a way that the learners have an opportunity to think and express their ideas. But the common issue here, or the dilemma or the problem here, is that when we ask questions to our students, like when we're discussing and we ask questions to our students, which is a form of formative assessment, okay, asking questions, making use of Socratic method, the common issue here is that teachers often don't wait long for students to think about their answers. So if a teacher quickly answers their own questions in a few seconds, all right, and it doesn't tolerate a minute of silence in class, so students now don't have a chance to think about what to say because you've answered it already for them. So here we should learn how to be very patient. All right. So teachers should make an effort to wait patiently after asking a question. We should allow our students to think. Let's give them sufficient time to think and formulate their answers. It's not definitely easy to formulate an answer right away. So instead of quickly providing the answer themselves, teacher probably should learn how to embrace a brief period of silence. Just give them like 30 seconds or a minute to think about it. Okay, so if that thing will not work for you, then provide them other activities like you would ask them to recall this one, discuss it in pairs or in small groups so that a respondent could speak on behalf of others. All right, or you could recall this one, allow them to just simply write their answers on a piece of paper and allow them to read it, or you could probably pick some recall this one, some papers and read their answers. Okay, that could be very helpful. So the main point is that we should give a lot of opportunities for our students to speak. All right, this is also one way to understand if they understand the topic or if they're grasping the idea. All right. Another thing, tests as well. Tests can be also a chance to learn. So it's not just all about engaging in conversations or in dialogues or in any discussions, but tests can be a chance to learn. It's better to have many short tests instead of few long ones. They would always say that. So test questions should be closely linked to the main learning goals and easy for students to understand. But the challenge here is that we should be able to create good questions, and creating good questions is really tough. So we need to really think carefully about them. So when we construct our questions, we have to construct it in a way that the students really able to just simply recall information, but they were able to explain or analyze, they're able to develop critical thinking as well. All right. So every student, as well in terms of test, all right, even for test or written formative assessment, we should be able to provide feedback also to our students, emphasizing on the things that they have to work on. And when we identify certain areas to improve, then let's give them chance to work on those improvements as well. All right, so that's all about formative assessment. So it's not, that's from the word formative, form, the word form itself. So formative assessment, it forms the knowledge, the skills, the attitude that the students need to develop or acquire to be able for them to fully or successfully accomplish later on those summative assessments. So in summary, formative assessments as represented by acronym FORM, it emphasizes what? Providing feedback, making observations, promoting reflection, and monitoring progress throughout learning process. So this approach aims to enhance learning outcomes by tailoring instruction to individual needs and fostering deeper understanding of the subject matter. So the true power of formative assessment lies not in the scores it generates, but in the learning it inspires. That's according to Dylan William. All right, so to we have to always what inculcate to our students, all right, that learning is not just all about grades, because sometimes they focus on grades, they focus on scores. So they do not see anymore the importance of those mini activities, those formative activities that we provide to them. They do not they tend to what overlook, okay, the significance or the importance of those. With that, the true power of formative assessments lies lies on us, on as teachers, on how we craft them. So let's craft a formative assessment that would meet the needs of our learners. So the crafting of assessment entails a lot a lot of preparation, a lot of researches, and let's do that for our students. So let's emphasize the importance of formative assessment. I know it's very difficult for us because, of course, with all the things that we have to discuss in our class in terms of content, all right, and then we prepare them with the summative assessment. But take note, they could not successfully accomplish the summative assessment if they're not ready yet. And how can we equip them? How can we ready our students to do the summative assessment? Through formative assessments. So there you are. I will end my discussion, of course, with a big thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I would like to give the virtual floor back to our IGP host. And if you have questions, just let me know about it. Thank you so much. Okay, so while waiting for our IGP host, do you have questions? Okay, please write them in our chat box, and later on we're going to read them and let's answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a rich content presentation which can impact our knowledge seeker surely. After your presentation, I hope our knowledge seeker can learn something new, which was our only intention. Learn and go together, IGP knowledge seeker. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation. Now, ma'am, it's time for our question answer session, which is the one more valuable part of our regular webinar. Honorable ma'am, please stay with us. After a short video, we will back in our session part 2, which is the question answer part. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Welcome back, ma'am. Welcome back to our participant, dear IGP knowledge seeker. Please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Ma'am, our first question is from Newtrim. How should we go about using formative assessment to gather achievement data and what are some strategies techniques they can use?
All right, thank you so much for that. So the question is, how should we go about using formative assessments to gather achievement data, and what are some strategies, techniques they can use? All right, so formative assessment, the main thing about is that we could gather information to be able for us, and this information that we can gather, we could actually what make use of it to be able for us to modify our instructions, okay, our strategies. So probably we could make use of exit tickets. Okay, that very simple formative assessment, but through exit tickets, students would write down their understanding about the lesson, and they're going to write there specifically the certain, we call this one, certain topics that they were not able to understand. And the next day, before you start your lesson, you try to explain further, specifically these things that they're not able to understand. Okay, so particular, this particular, I would call this particular way of assessing our students' learning, it would help them later on or prepare them later on better understand the next lesson, because if they do not understand this lesson, for example, the recent lesson, how would they understand future's lesson? So it's actually what a domino effect. So it's very important that that particular period, that particular time, or that particular moment, we're able to already address the concerns of our students, so that when we move on to the next topic, all the students are on the same page, and the students won't have difficulty understanding the next lessons. It's very important that we provide like prerequisite assessment, okay, before they move on to the next lesson. And through that prerequisite assessment, we could come up with simple activities only that could serve as well like a formative assessment. So when we come up with our lesson plan, we always start with the review part. All right. So review, or we could start with motivation, review. And then as we end our lesson plan, we have the enrichment part. Okay. Practice, enrichment part. And there we could already see if the student able to understand the lesson. Okay. So thank you so much. I hope I was able to um, explain that one. Thank you. Another question.
Welcome, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your answer, ma'am. Our next question is from Kingway. Ma'am, can we do without summative assertive?
Mom, can we do without the summative assessment? Okay. A while back, I mentioned that formative assessment and summative assessment, they're both important. They're both valuable. All right. Because they have different purpose. The main thing there is that with the students could not successfully do the summative assessment if they're not prepared. And one way for us to prepare them is to provide formative assessment to our students. And these activities or assessment that we provide to them would really equip them or make them ready to do the summative assessment. So we could not remove summative assessment, still part of the learning, all right, because they're both important. Okay, so summative assessment, it would evaluate, okay, the overall learning of the students. But in terms of the formative assessment, it would it would what help us determine, okay, if the students are learning. And with that, during the learning process, we could what do certain interventions for our students. It's part of it. Okay, so we should it's formative assessment and summative assessment. They're both part of the students' learning. Okay, so it's very important in the education process. Okay, so thank you so much for that. Another question.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your answer. Ma'am, our next question is from Joy. How do you assess student formative assessment?
Okay, how do you assess a student's formative assessment? You could do it on the spot actually. All right. So when you do certain when you're discussing and then you pose a certain question for the students to answer, and then while they're answering, you could already what refine their answer. So this is their answer. You try to supplement. Of course, it's very important that we acknowledge our students' answer. Okay, so that they will be motivated or encouraged as well to speak next time. So it's very important that you always acknowledge first and then you try to supplement, add some more information that would enrich a student's answer. You could do on the spot assessment. Okay. The assessing of the activity depends on the nature of the formative assessment. If it's exit ticket, you could do it also on the spot if you have more if you have enough time or sufficient time to do it. But if you have inadequate time, then probably you could only like read three responses from your students, and then the rest you could read it on your own, and then tomorrow let's try to summarize everything that the students have written. So summarize all the responses and try to reflect on them and try to answer them, okay, the next day, something like that. So it depends on the type of formative assessment. You could do the assessing on the spot or you could do it the next day. All right. So thank you so much. Or if it is online, you could make use of the private comment section. You could give your feedback right away. Or if it is a written formative assessment, that you could do some annotations. Okay, so it depends on the task. Thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, our next question is from Anna. How can we assess struggling learners or learners at risk? Can they take the formative assessment design for the group as a whole class even though you know what the basic needs are first does not they can really get along for the daily weekly formative assessment?
Thank you so much for that. So it's very important that we consider, okay, our learners. So in a classroom, of course, there are different group of learners. This is the reason why we provide prerequisite assessment first before we go on to a new topic. All right. So this prerequisite assessment will enable would enable us to determine those students who have insufficient understanding of the lesson or sufficient understanding of the lesson. So those students with sufficient understanding of the lesson, you could provide, okay, specific activities for them to meet this sufficient understanding of the lesson. Okay, you could provide additional activities. You could provide what do you call this one what do you call this one, reading materials for them. So it depends on you to be able for them to reach that sufficient understanding of the understanding of the lesson. Those with sufficient understanding of the lesson, they could, then don't no need for them to do it. But but before you allow these students with insufficient level of understanding, okay, or you call this one, join those students with sufficient understand the lesson, it should be met first. Okay, so this is one thing that we have to consider. This is a very good this is actually a very good question, because sometimes we as teachers, we introduce a topic with the assumption that the students understand it. This is correct, actually. So not all students could really understand the topic. So how can we, if we do not provide prerequisite assessment before discussing the new lesson, then on the spot you could actually do it. Okay, how? Before you start the lesson, you provide a very simple activity for your students. And through this simple activity, you could already assess those students who have knowledge about this, those students who have less knowledge about this, or those students who don't really have knowledge about this. And with that, you have to be very flexible. So as teachers, you have to be very flexible. So if you see that students are struggling or don't have any idea about this topic that you are discussing, then try to provide, okay, certain activity, okay, for everybody. Okay, so again, this is not only for struggling students, for everybody, to be able for them to enhance their understanding. Or if that's not possible for you to do that, okay, with the structure of the and how you have structured your lesson, then you could do what I call this one, you could allow group activities wherein you allow these students who are struggling along with those students who are not struggling, so that they could, these people are not these students are not struggling, they could help those students who are struggling. All right, so there's actually called collaboration as well, so it's a collaborative task, so that could also be very helpful. So group activities is not just for you to lighten your task, but it's merely for your students to help each other, so as they converse, they're learning from each other. So this is how they do it. Okay, and then this person or this student who's struggling would learn from this student who has good grasp of the lesson. Okay, so it would be what do you call this one? It's a very good, actually a very good strategy. All right, so that is this is very good. All right, so please remember that when you are in a classroom, we have different groups of learners. All right, there. Thank you so much. What else?
Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, there is no more questions from our
Okay.
participants. So once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with new topic. It will add some value to our day-to-day activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable ma'am, hope to see you again with a new topic and a new date. Thank you, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am. Honorable ma'am, before we move to the next, if you want to leave this studio, you can. Dear IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Dear IGP Knowledge Seeker, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. website, find a running session and get enrolled. After watching governing part 1, move to the next with the learning test passing mark 80% if passed. Back to the course again to download your certificate. If failed to retake the quiz, download your certificate in PDF or JPG. For your attention, I am going to share the procedure again. Visit www.radioigp.com. Please make sure you presence on our website, find a running session and get enrolled. After watching completing part 1, move to the next learning test passing mark 80%. If passed, back to the course again to download your certificate. If failed to retake the quiz, download your certificate in PDF or JPG. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, it's time for the most engaging part of this webinar, which is an online quiz competition, which is a regular webinar activity. We change a few processes for online quiz competition. Note that after live, no one can participate. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Visit www.radioigp.com and sign up or sign in. Without this, you cannot join live quiz competition anymore. Browse the live quiz button or give a link, find the session name and join with your logged register or user account. Click join and wait for a few minutes for others to join and enjoy our live quiz competition. After the quiz, we will issue certificate for top 10 as previously, which you can find on official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Professional. After a short video, we will start our quiz session. With 24 people, we are going to start a question and our first question is, who is the heart of the formative assessment process? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 95% people are right here. Second question is, the purpose of formative assessment. Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 100% people are right here. Third question is, what is the difference of formative and summative assessment? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 100% people are right here. Next question is, what is the best example of a formative assessment? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 64% people are right here. Next question is, the goal of formative assessment is to enhance learning and occurs during instructions. Is it true or false? Option 1 is the right answer. 100% people are right here. Next question is, formative assessment of the learning goals. Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 1 is the right answer. 76% people are right here. Next question is, the primary purpose of a formative assessment is to, is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 81% people are right here. Eighth question is, the definition of formative assessment, is it option 1 or option 2? Option 1 is the right answer. 95% people are right here. Next question is, what is the definition of a formative assessment? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 1 is the right answer. 80% people are right here. Last and final question of the session is, what is the purpose of formative assessment? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 1 is the right answer. 90% people are right here. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in the top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on official Facebook page and group instead of Global Professional. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in the top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on official Facebook page and group instead of Global Professional. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in the top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on official Facebook page and group instead of Global Professional. At the end of our session, we can say properly feed your skill. Never stop learning, cause life never stop teaching us. Be happy as to safe. See you again and again. We want your participation in every program. If you want to live a happy life, try to a goal, not a people of things. Albert Einstein. Before I say or hit the like button, again wants to thank all IGP knowledge seekers for your active participation as always. See you again in the next session. Thank you.